In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, Amen. Welcome back to the channel. I'm on the 2x zoom, so hopefully the framing is alright. This video is one that I've been looking forwards to make because it's such an under-addressed topic, and I know I would have indirectly touched on it. I've discussed Thumos on Instagram. Obviously, fit for the kingdom. It's the name of the mission, the name of the game of being fit in order to carry out the precepts of the kingdom. The problem with low energy Christianity. You could say that I'm declaring war against the cardinal sin of gluttony, aka fat Christians. And this is not to say that gluttony is a particularly worse sin than any others, but gluttony has this way of impacting your ability to affect change in the world. And also, we've consistently talked about goy, slop, pornography, vices, addiction. It's one of those things which it clouds your conscience and reason to even, I don't know, I feel like it's a real trap. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just, pride, okay, I'm sort of going all right, but then when I do an achievement, I fall into pride. Or I'm sort of going all right, but then once a week, I fall into lust or something. Gluttony is like this consistent thing that really affects our physicality. And that's why it's such a big problem. Anyway, I'm not here to convince you on whether or not gluttony is bad. I'm here to tell you about why low energy Christianity is such a huge problem and why so many problems within the church would be addressed were Christians frickin' living with fire in the chest, right? With Thumos, that they were actually energetic, healthy chads, spreading the gospel, living virtuously, standing up against evil, and leading their families, their communities, civilization to heaven. That's what we need. So, why is it so bad on a physical level? Look, I'll start with a bit of an anecdote so you can understand this. Think of a young man, a teenager, and he goes to mass, and father is celebrating mass. He's got sneakers on, he's got his chasuble, and his belly is like this, right? It just goes out like a massive lump. I don't think you can see that. I've got a ball. Is that someone who exudes confidence? No. Is it someone who exudes authority? No. Is it someone who is acting as a spiritual leader or shepherd? Maybe in part, but we're talking about someone we want someone to follow, right? Teenagers want someone to look up to be their hero, to be their aspiration, not to deliver a moralizing sermon at Mass and celebrate the Eucharist and then hold no impact or role in their life at all. So when the priest is overweight, or he doesn't look after himself and he's out of shape, it's a direct object to his ministry. It's a direct problem. And not just to young men. Women need leaders as well. The elderly need leaders. You are the protector of a flock. And I'm speaking to fathers of children too. You're not just there to have money in the bank, put food on the table and get your kids to school. You're there to be their hero, their stable, their stability, their figure, like God the Father in the Old Testament, who leads them out of the slavery of Egypt. That is who you are playing as Father, as God the Father, as the Father of nations. But if you're fat, if you don't have any energy, if you're weak, and don't just think that these things are exterior physically and you could have a guy who's absolutely mentally sharp, emotionally and spiritually locked in, but he happens to be fat. That's not how it works. It's one whole system that works in unison. You're not going to be spiritually or mentally sharp if you're overweight because you're full of sludge, you're full of toxins, you have no energy, your metabolism is munted, your thyroid is not producing hormones correctly, you're probably full of estrogen. It's physically impossible for you to be spiritually or mentally locked in if you're fat. So let's not act like it's not a problem or it's just a physical problem. Your health is part and parcel of who you are as a person. We are body and soul. Our soul is in our body. Our body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. We can't just have this temple falling down in ruins and expect it to have no effect. And again, come to that example of the kid. We're still at point number one, or the physical point. It's not someone who you will follow, right? Yeah, I could talk a lot more about that. What video was it? I can't remember which video I did. I did a video a while back. I'll link it up here if I remember which one it was, but I discussed about the temple of the Holy Spirit and whatnot. So, you're not inspiring confidence in anyone, especially yourself. You're not gonna walk around confidence with swagger, ready to spread the gospel if you're overweight and you're embarrassed. Lack of vigor, passivity. You're not going to be achieving much. You're not going to be pushing. You're not going to be like Magellan sailing around the globe. That's not going to happen if you're fat or if you have low energy. Simply is not going to happen. Lack of temperance, we've talked about that, and lack of physical bearing / stature. If you forgot about everything else in the video, this is more than enough of a reason to say, okay, whatever's wrong with my health at the moment, whatever's wrong with my energy, with my sleep, with my strength, I need to sort out what's going on with my skin. That's enough of an energy. You can stop the video right now, go to Claude. How do I lose some weight? How do I raise my testosterone? That in this day and age, you have no excuse at all. Spiritual. Now here is where I'm going to circle around, where I've talked about those points, that this isn't merely a physical problem. Sloth, the noonday devil. Aquinas says that intemperance in the belly leads downwards. It leads to sexual sin. And we know this because Father Chad Ripperger talks about this. The demons of gluttony and acedia are linked to the demons of lust. So they work hand in hand. And even if you take sloth at face value, not having energy, like how many people reduce their life? Okay, my only responsibility is my work responsibility. Provided I'm working 40 hours a week, I don't really have any obligation to contribute to society outside of that. And that's kind of a slothful thing to say. You know, that's what leads to people wasting weekend after weekend consistently. That's what leads people to say, well, after 5 p.m., I'm too tired to achieve anything. And that's how people live most of their lives, you know? That's where Fight Club is such a great movie, because in some sense, it kind of addresses this problem where it's like someone's been in the corporate goy mindset for so long that it literally destroys your brain. Like I talked about mental here, but that's the problem with the doom scrolling and the dopamine. It's like you get so desensitized. The word that I'm looking for is apathy. You become apathetic to other people, to the world outside you, to beauty, to goodness, to truth. You get so programmed, or the matrix, there we go. You get so programmed into that to even conceive of living in a different way, to think about Alexander the Great, to think about Odysseus, to think about, you know, the great saints of history. It's like reading a piece of fiction, right? Because there's no connection between you and the great men of history. So there's sloth. The goy slop destroys your brain. Food will damage your soul. Your diet has an impact on your spiritual life. If you're eating hyper-processed foods, spiking your blood sugars and your glucose, you're going to be more disposed to sexual sins and sins of intemperance, sins of impurity. You're going to, most likely, if you're eating that crap, you're probably going to be doom scrolling as well, because your body's programmed in this like spazzy as radar, right? It's going up and down and up and down and up and down. A lack of protein and healthy fats is going to mean that when you eat, you're not actually satiated. You have a primarily carbohydrate-based diet, gluten and all of this stuff. you're never going to feel satiated, so you're going to keep eating, but you're also not even going to be getting proper energy out of it. We want that metabolism roaring, and we want to feed it with protein and fat that actually gives the necessary nutrients to the body. If you're not eating correctly, your brain and body functions differently and you don't have energy. I'm not going to give you all the science, but you can research this, okay? I'm going to hopefully interview a guy on how men can regain their testosterone and energy, so stay tuned for that. But Slop destroys your brain and body and how it thinks and functions. And this is also why people, on a side note, experience so much clarity when fasting, because they actually are able to, their body in some ways calms down to a baseline where it can actually start to embrace the spiritual life more properly. And you'll have the same effect when you actually start eating properly as well. Hopefully I'm not stepping out of the frame too much. No Thumos, no fire in the chest. Aquinas has this other great quote that says, if you can live amid injustice without anger, you are not, you are immoral as well as unjust, or something like that. But when you don't have energy, when you don't have the spark in your eye, when you don't have the fire in the chest, injustice, again, you are apathetic towards states of injustice. And I don't just mean like evils such as, you know, Epstein or the UK rape gangs or any number of atrocities which are happening in the modern world, but even injustices in your own life. You know, you see someone needing help. You see a specific group of people needing help. You see perhaps an area within your parish, your community, where you could genuinely make a difference. But if you don't have that energy, that interior life that's flowing, that's actually abundant, you're not going to be able to give some of that to someone else, right? And I talked about that in the Circles of Influence video. But if I'm so weak, if I have such low energy that I'm clocking off after a 40-hour work week and I'm absolutely buggered, I don't have the ability to help anyone else. So the problem with low energy and gluttony and Slop and this, I like to say that there's multiple types of gluttony. There's gluttony of food, there's gluttony of entertainment, there's gluttony of emotion even. It leads to the point where you become self-centered because you can't actually make any changes to things outside yourself. So there's no Thumos, there's no fire in the chest, there's a lack of anger towards injustice. So you can see from the point of view of the devil, if he can get someone who's slothful, who's eating Slop, who's so numbed by entertainment that he has no Thumos, no fire in the chest, apathetic towards injustice, what has he done? He's removed the soldier from the front line. That's not a man who's going to be actively conquering sin and preaching the gospel. He's gooning in his room. He's hardly fulfilling his daily responsibilities, his marital responsibilities, his familial responsibilities. You're not on the front line anymore, bro. And you're never going to be on the front line if you can't even frickin' get out of bed with a bit of skip in your step, you know, if you're fat. That's just the reality. You know, this isn't fat shaming. It's fat truthing. You want to spread the kingdom of heaven on earth? Lose some weight. Let's get to work, you know? And mental. There's no fortitude, there's no innovation, there's no pushing forth. Now, I like to talk about my dad. I mean, he's not the epitome of health in, you know, the optimizer or frickin' gym bro kind of analogy, but at the same time, very hard worker and working on the farm. And, you know, I'm not really sure whether or not he was super abundant with energy, but the fact that he had the perseverance and obviously some base level of physicality to push through meant that he had the fortitude and innovation, if you will, to, you know, to work for years and years and decades in dairy farming and actually rise the ranks and get to management and achieve, some great figures and put in some great years, great seasons on different farms. And I'm sure there would have been easier alternatives presented to him in terms of career options, or in terms of like, oh, we don't actually need to push any further, we're comfortable here. But that perseverance, that mental fortitude and innovation meant that he's been able to provide a lot better opportunities and possibilities for himself and mum as his wife, and also for all of my brothers and sisters. I'm the eldest of 7. He could have settled for less. There is no doubt about that, but he didn't. And I'm sure he wouldn't regret what he's done, but again, with that lack of energy, with that lack of physicality, it's very easy to remain in this state of passivity. And as you can see it physically, exteriorly, you can see it spiritually. This is probably the one that's least talked about today on how that affects you. And you can see it mentally. I mean, you don't really need to look too far into this. I mean, I'm a big fan of David Goggins just because I think he has a lot to contribute in terms of mentality or mindset, and Jocko Willink as well. But you read stories of the guys in the trenches in World War I. I mean, not even really sleeping, right? Because they're getting shelled the crap out of all day. They've got water up to their knees. They've got trench foot. The flesh on their feet is rotting away. They have to go up and watch coffee, cigarettes, tinned food from the 1910s. And they did that for multiple years. And here I am with 6 or 7 hours of sleep in a warm house with insulation, having eaten 200 grams of protein the day before, and I'm too tired to get out of bed? Really? Are you kidding me? So that you bring that kind of mindset, right, to your life, and it becomes a lot easier to push yourself on. So anyway, I've deviated a bit, but that's the problem with low energy. And I don't just want to jump straight away and I mean, I didn't do that in the video, but I don't want to jump straight into the spiritual and mental negatives. As I said, the physical stuff right here is more than enough to warrant making a difference and making this a focus in your life. So that's all from me. Some practical tips. I should probably make a video practically on, oh yeah, I said I was going to interview that guy, but fix your sleep. Figure out, what's my minimum required amount of sleep? How can I maximize my sleep quality? Focus on protein and fats that are actually going to satiate you. 100% cut out the goy slop, cut out the processed foods, cut out the drinks, the alcohol, all of that crap. It does not serve you. And this is a great point from Brandon something. He said that balance, people say balance, oh, you can take the weekend off, you can have some cheat meals, you can skip a workout. You only get to practice balance once you've actually hit the goal. A fat person should not be using the word balance because he's currently way over on the other side. He needs to cut down to a point in the middle to where he actually has a bit of leeway. But if you're super fat, or if you're addicted to pornography, you can't have balance in terms of whether on your spiritual life, on whether you pray or whether you take a cold shower or whether you do your daily prayers. You are still in the trenches, brother. You have to frickin' fight tooth and nail, as the letters to the Hebrews says, to the point of shedding blood to get out of that sin, to get out of that situation. There's no balance to be had there. If you're incredibly overweight, or if you have a lack of energy, don't have a cheat meal. Don't stay up super late. Don't go out to drink. Get that baseline, recover that energy, get your life in order, prioritize yourself, the gym, the health, your faith. And once you're actually stable in that, once you're on the path to virtue, once you've grown in virtue, well, then we can talk about balance. Then we can talk about integrating the social life. Then we can talk about all of that. But if you're still super far away from that, you need to actually get there first. a lot of guys are sort of stepping off the path for the sake of balance or for the sake of some other rubbish reason, and they're never actually committing or hitting the goals that they want to hit. So that's my message to you guys. If you want to join the Legion, which is a community of men where we talk about this kind of stuff, we have weekly calls. We just finished the Into the Breach series from the Knights of Columbus. Feel free to join it. You'll be able to chat to me every week as well. If you wanted to explore working with me one-on-one, I do some mentorship. I'm currently working with 7 guys, so I'd probably only be taking 3 more at this stage. Had a call with someone today, but if you're interested, there will be a link below to my website and a few more details. You can watch some testimonials. Again, just reach out. There's no pressure. If it sounds like it might be a good fit, we'll jump on a Zoom and we'll chat about it. But that's all from me. Please also subscribe to me on Rumble before I get banned on all the mainstream platforms. And if you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments. If you made it to the end, you're a legend. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. God bless.